Hello students, this is Divyan Sharma. I hope you all are safe and doing good. In the last session, I had discussed about balancing chemical reactions. I had used one chemical equation to make you understand about the concept of balancing. Today I will be discussing about the types of chemical reactions. I want you to put your complete attention towards the session so that you can understand everything properly. So students, you must have learnt about the conservation of mass, which states that mass cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, it can be just transferred from one form to another form. Similar is the case with atoms also. Atoms cannot disappear from a mixture, or they cannot appear in a mixture. They can be just break down and recombined in order to form new reactions. So the formation of chemicals takes place due to the breaking and the recombination of atoms. Please try to understand it properly. So today I'll be discussing about the different methods of breaking and recombination of atoms to break some bonds and form some new bonds. The first type of reaction is combination reaction. As the word suggests, combination means combining. That means some of the atoms are combining with some of the other atoms in order to make a chemical, or you can say in order to complete the reaction. So let us discuss activity 1.4, which is mentioned in your NCERT, in which we need to take some amount of calcium oxide. So what is the formula of calcium oxide? CaO. It is in solid form and we also call it quicklime. So we need to take a small amount of calcium oxide or quicklime in a beaker, then slowly add water to it. So if we are adding water to it, the chemical formula for water should be H2O, and then the process of combination will take place. Why the process of combination is taking place? Because we are adding water to quicklime, and in the process of combination a new substance will form, and that new substance will be calcium hydroxide, which is aqueous in nature. We call calcium hydroxide as slaked lime. Also there will be some amount of heat that will be liberated after the reaction. So students, the reactant contains quicklime and water, and the product contains slaked lime and heat. So if you break this, then it will be Ca2 positive and OH negative. So Ca has a valency of 2 and OH has a valency of 1. When they cross multiply, the reaction will lead to CaOH whole twice. This is the general principle of combination. Atoms from one part of the reactant will combine with atoms of another part of the reactant in order to form a new compound. Let us discuss some simple examples of combination reaction. The first example is burning of coal. In burning of coal, carbon, which is solid in nature, reacts with oxygen, because burning takes place in the presence of oxygen only, which is gaseous in nature, in order to form carbon dioxide. This is a simple reaction which occurs a lot of time around us. Where? Do think about that. Along with that, there is another important reaction which is very common to us, and that is formation of water. So when hydrogen reacts with oxygen, water is formed. Is the reaction balanced? No. 2 atoms of hydrogen are there, 2 atoms of hydrogen are there, 2 atoms of oxygen are there, but 1 atom of oxygen is there. So in order to balance oxygen, let us multiply 2 here. Then the reaction will become as 2H, but 4H2 are there, 2O, 2O are there. So in order to make it 4H2, we need to multiply 2H2. So balancing is a simple process. It will come into process gradually once you start practicing it. So in order to define combination reaction in simple words, we say that when two or more substances, which can be elements or compounds, combine to form a single product, because the main product is a single product such as H2O, such as carbon dioxide. To form a single product, the reactions are called combination reaction. Students, respiration, which is a process of human body, is also a form of combination reaction. I want you to find out the chemical equation for respiration, which is also present in your NCERT textbook. Also, I want to tell you that respiration is an exothermic process, or you can say that it is an exothermic reaction. So what is exothermic process? Those processes in which heat is liberated are known as exothermic process. So in respiration process, a lot of heat is liberated from our body. That is why it is known as exothermic process. So we can also say that combination reactions are exothermic reactions majorly, right? So it can be defined in these words. Now let us discuss another type of reaction, which is decomposition reaction. In order to discuss decomposition reaction, I would like to mention activity 1.5 of NCERT textbook, in which we need to take 2 grams of ferrous sulfate crystals in a dry boiling tube. So what is the formula of ferrous sulfate? It is FeSO4, and since they are crystals, we'll write solid. Now when you are taking the crystals of ferrous sulfate in a test tube, you must note the color of ferrous sulfate crystals. After that, heat the boiling tube from the bottom. You can use burner or spirit lamp in order to do that. After a certain interval of time, you will see a change in the color of the ferrous sulfate crystals. Maybe the product is also different from ferrous sulfate. In this reaction, ferrous sulfate will break and it will give some simpler product. What are the products? The first product is Fe2O3, which is also known as ferric oxide. Why ferric oxide? Because iron is very reactive to oxygen. So when we are heating the crystals of ferrous sulfate, the process is taking place in the presence of oxygen only. So the first simpler product is ferric oxide. Second is sulfur dioxide, and the third is sulfur trioxide, which are the byproducts. The main product is ferric oxide, right? So this is a decomposition reaction. The meaning of decomposition is breaking, decomposing into simpler things. So here ferrous sulfate is breaking into ferric oxide, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. Why? Because the crystals of ferrous sulfate will lose the amount of water which they contain during the process of heating. That is why they are decomposing into simple products, in which Fe2O3 will be solid in nature and SO2, SO3 will be gaseous in nature. In a similar way, if you will try to heat CaCO3, calcium carbonate, which is also known as limestone generally, if you will try to heat that, you will get CaO, that is quicklime, and carbon dioxide. So calcium carbonate is breaking into calcium oxide, which is quicklime, and carbon dioxide, right? So in this decomposition reaction, we are using heat as our source of energy. So these type of decompositions are known as thermal decomposition, in which heat is used to break the heavy complex substance into simpler substance. There is another example which is discussed in activity 1.6. I want you to read the activity 1.6 and also find out the results of activity 1.6 in the form of reaction. There is an activity 1.8 which is very interesting with reference to decomposition reaction. In this activity, we need to take 2 grams of silver chloride. So what is the formula of silver chloride? AgCl, right? And we need to keep silver chloride in the presence of sunlight. So after some time, you will see that silver chloride will break into silver and chlorine. This is due to the decomposition, and here sunlight is the source of energy which is used for decomposing silver chloride. Also, silver bromide behaves in same way because chlorine and bromine are from same halo group. You know, this reaction is used in black and white photography. So this is a very important reaction which comes in one or the another form. So this is a very important reaction which has been asked in examination a lot of times. So light, heat, electricity are some sources for decomposing the complex substances into simpler substances. You must have noticed that in decomposition reactions we are using heat, and in combination reactions we were getting the heat. So the combination reactions were exothermic in nature, while the decomposition reactions are endothermic in nature. So students, those reactions which require heat are known as exothermic reactions, and those reactions in which heat is supplied are known as endothermic reactions. Now the next type of reaction is displacement reaction. So as the word suggests, displacement, in these type of reactions one substance, or you can say that one element, replace another element and form a new compound. In order to make you understand this type of reaction, I'll use activity 1.9 of NCERT textbook. In activity 1.9, you need to take 3 iron nails. Let's say I've taken 3 iron nails. You need to rub them with sandpaper. Now why we are rubbing? Because we are removing the impurities from the iron nails. Now take 2 test tubes, mark them A and B. In each test tube, take about 10 ml of copper sulfate solution. So our first element is iron, or you can say our first reactant is iron. Then we need to tie these iron nails. Then we need to tie the 2 iron nails and immerse them carefully in the copper sulfate solution which is there in the test tube B for about 20 minutes. And we need to keep one iron nail aside in order to compare the condition of iron nail present in the test tube and which is present outside. After 20 minutes, we need to take out the iron nails. So we are performing a reaction in which iron nails are dipped in copper sulfate solution which is aqueous in nature. Now when iron nails will be dipped in copper sulfate solution, they will be making a new substance. So if you will compare the intensity of blue color of copper sulfate solution in test tube A and B, you will see that the solution of copper sulfate which is present in test tube B, which was earlier blue in color, will lose its blue color. And this test tube contains copper sulfate solution which is blue in nature because we haven't poured any iron nail in this test tube. Why is it so? Also, you need to compare the color of iron nails taken out from the test tube and which is not poured in the test tube. So you will see a difference. When you will take out the iron nail from the copper sulfate solution like this, the nail will become brownish in color. So there are 2 results. First result is the copper sulfate solution will become colorless or the blue color fades away, and the iron nail taken out from the copper sulfate solution will become brownish in color. Why these changes are taking place? It is because iron has displaced or removed another element, copper, from copper sulfate solution. So when iron will remove copper from the copper sulfate solution, it will replace it in the reaction CuSO4 and copper will be left out. And this copper which is left out will be depositing on the iron nail. In that way, the solution will turn out as ferrous sulfate solution moreover, because iron has replaced copper, or you can say displaced copper, and copper will be out, and it will be out in solid form, or we say it will be out in precipitate form, right? So that is why these changes are taking place. So why iron is able to displace copper from its solution? It is because it is more reactive. Can you name some another reactive elements which are more reactive than copper? Please try to find out. Also try to figure out the reactions related to those elements. This is a kind of homework for you. So in displacement reaction, one compound is major compound in the product side, while the other is a type of element, or you can say it is a byproduct. It's not a main product, right? But in double displacement reaction, two or more compounds can be formed from the reactions. That is why it is double displacement. Why? Because two major products are there. In order to prove this, let us discuss activity 1.10 of your NCERT textbook, in which we need to take about 3 ml of sodium sulfate solution in a test tube. So what is the formula for sodium sulfate? Na2SO4. Since it is a solution, that is why it will be aqueous in nature. In another test tube, we need to take 3 ml of barium chloride solution. So what is the formula for barium chloride? BaCl2. You need to remember all the formulas for the reactions. Now mix the two solutions. When you will mix the two solutions, it will come out as BaSO4 plus 2NaCl. I'm balancing the equations parallelly. So what is happening here? Ba is reacting with SO4 2 negative, and Na positive is reacting with Cl negative. So both the reactants are combining, or you can say both the reactants are exchanging their ions, right? Ba is exchanging with SO4, Na is exchanging with Cl. That is why new compounds have been formed which are BaSO4 and 2NaCl, and these two are main compounds. You can say they are main products. While in displacement reaction, only one product was there and another was a kind of element, or you can say a precipitate such as of copper. That is why double displacement reaction comes into process when two main products are formed. So Ba contains Ba2 positive and SO4 contains SO4 2 negative. That is why BaSO4. Similarly, Na2 will be Na positive and Cl2 will be Cl negative. So you need to understand the logic of combination and recombination and shifting or exchange of ions. It is just related to the valencies. So please revise the valencies of the element also. You must be knowing about the valencies, about the type of charge related to the type of elements in order to understand these type of reactions. Otherwise you will just cram it, and cramming is not possible for science. You need to understand the logics behind the reactions. Now the last type of reaction which I will discuss is oxidation and reduction type of reaction. and which also lead to redox reactions, which is a detailed topic to be discussed in class 12th also. So what is oxidation? In simple words, loss of hydrogen or gain of oxygen is oxidation. Means if the chemical compound is losing its hydrogen or if the chemical compound is gaining its oxygen, then it is said to be oxidized. And what is reduction? It is just inverse of oxidation, that is gaining of hydrogen atoms or losing of oxygen atoms is known as reduction. For example, let's take a reaction Cu, that is copper, reacting with oxygen forms copper oxide. Now if I'll try to balance it, it will become this. The reaction will take place in the presence of heat. So in this process, copper is getting oxygen. So this type of reaction is known as oxidation reaction. Let's take another reaction. Copper oxide reacting with hydrogen, forming copper plus water. In this type of reaction, copper is losing its oxygen. That is why reduction of copper is taking place. And the hydrogen part is gaining oxygen. So we can say that reduction is taking place here and oxidation is taking place here. So these type of reactions are known as redox reactions, in which both reduction and oxidations are taking place. There are a lot of examples for redox reactions. I want you to get to the examples of redox reactions from your NCERT or any book which you can prefer at this moment. Also, let's recall the activity 1.1, which was related to burning of magnesium ribbon. The magnesium ribbon was burning with a dazzling flame in air, that is oxygen, and it was turning it into what? Magnesium was turning in magnesium oxide. So it is getting oxidized or reduced? Yes, you are right, it is getting oxidized. So students, I hope you are getting these reactions, you are getting the logics and everything. If you are not able to understand, or even if you are facing some kind of doubt, try to rewind the video, try to watch it 2 to 3 times, try to ask the doubts, try to read NCERT. You need to do a lot in order to understand the concepts properly. So students, ultimately we have discussed 5 types of reactions. The first one is combination, second one is decomposition, third one is displacement, fourth one is double displacement, fifth one is oxidation and reduction. These are very important from the examination point of view, as a lot of questions have been asked in past from this concept. So you need to do it very carefully. Try to learn some good examples of each type of reaction. Try to relate examples with certain type of reaction. Try to understand the process of reactions. Try to learn or memorize the examples such as reactions used for black and white photography. All these are important concepts. Now you may have observed the effects of oxidation in your everyday life also. In the starting only I have quoted that reactions just not take place in laboratory only. They also takes place in your everyday life. So oxidation is a type of reaction which takes place in your everyday life, and it comes with some type of consequences, or you can say some type of ill effects. The 2 major effects of oxidation which I want to discuss are corrosion and rancidity. These are the 2 important consequences, or you can say the 2 important effects of oxidation reactions in everyday life. So you must have observed iron articles, right? When you purchase them, the iron articles, they are very shiny in nature, right? They are very shiny in nature, such that of glass, plate, iron rod, or anything related to iron. But if you leave them in the presence of oxygen, they'll get coated with a reddish brown powder when left for some time, and they don't look nice then. For example, the tap. which is present in our houses, or iron rods which are also present in our houses, gets this reddish brown powder. So what is this reddish brown powder? We call it rust, and the process in which the iron articles get this reddish brown powder is known as rusting of iron. So rusting of iron is not a good process for us. It creates a lot of problems. Some other metals also get tarnished in this manner. So metals can be attacked with acids and moisture, which leads to change in the property of metal, whether they get corroded or they get layered. So it is said to corrode, and this process is called as corrosion. Sometimes silver also gets corroded, and a type of green layer on copper and black coating on silver get deposited. These are also the type of examples of corrosion. Corrosion also damages to car bodies, bridges, iron ships, rails, a lot of things which are made up of metals, especially those of iron. Therefore, it is a serious problem. However, there are certain type of remedies which we take in order to prevent corrosion. However, there are certain type of process coatings which are done in order to avoid corrosion. Sometimes we used to paint our articles in order to remove corrosion, or we use alloys in order to avoid corrosion. Every year, enormous amount of money is spent to replace damaged iron from the iron railings and other places. This whole creates a lot of problem, but since we can't avoid the exposure of iron articles to moisture, so this process have to occur. We can just take preventive methods in order to reduce the effects of corrosion. Next thing is rancidity. So have you tasted or smelt the fat oil containing food materials left for a long time? So they don't smell good. Why they don't smell good? Because the fats or the oils, they also get oxidized. And when they get oxidized, we say that they become rancid, and their smell and taste both changes. Usually to avoid this, antioxidants are added to foods containing fats and oils. Also, keeping food in airtight containers. You must have purchased a packet of chips which is airtight. So it slows down the process of oxidation. Nitrogen gas is used in packets of chips majorly in order to prevent the chips from getting oxidized. So this process in which fats and oils get oxidized or become rancid is known as rancidity. This is also an ill effect of oxidation which we have studied or discussed. So students, this is the end of the chapter. In this whole chapter, we have studied a lot of things, starting with what are chemical reactions, what are chemical equations, how they are balanced, why balancing is required, what are the type of chemical reactions which can be formed by breaking and forming of new atoms, exchanging of ions, what are the effects of oxidation that can be observed in everyday life. These all are some important concepts which we have studied in this chapter. I want you to revise all these important concepts. First, try to make your own notes out of this chapter. Your own notes will lead to a better understanding towards this chapter. Then try to solve all the in-text questions. After that, try to solve the exercise questions for this chapter. If you will do all these things, this chapter will get completed for you. Then we can move to next chapter. So please do all your homework. Please engage with your studies. Please be safe. Please be at home. This is all for this session. See you in the next session.